Hello, I am Logan Frank, and I'm doing secret Nazi bases. After the Germans were defeated, many surrendered, were captured, or they fled to Argentina, according to our history books. In reality, when they did flee to Argentina, they didn't actually stay there. They used Argentina's government, who was friendly towards the Nazi regime, as a excuse to get out of the country. Then they would use this Argentina's proximity to Antarctica to cross the strait. And how did they cross the strait, you might ask, without detection? Simple. The Germans had U-boats. That was the main thing they were producing as their naval power all the way through World War II. The Germans were very good at building U-boats, many with stealth features, especially the Type 9B U-boat. It was a very good model, though not very many were used, but enough of them were available for the Germans to use to flee. As well as these boats, U-boats, were capable of sustaining extreme cold weather conditions, allowing them to make the treacherous journey to Antarctica, where they landed and set up their base in Neuschwabenland. In this territory, the Germans already had a base set up for whaling, which gave them a great excuse to have resources in the region. The British during the war had SAS divisions also keeping an eye on these German activity in the Antarctic regions. Late in the war, the Germans developed a jet fighter called the Ho-229, and this was an early prototype. Notice the round shape of its design. The Germans would continue to pioneer the design of the Ho-229 and to make it into a hovering vehicle. After the Germans were able to ship enough resources to the region, they were able to set up secret submarine entrances, but unlike this one in the image, it'd be more of an underground version where they can sail underneath the ice caps and then emerge when they need to. After so long, the Germans would eventually perfect the Ho-229's design, creating an almost UFO-type design to their ship. The Germans would go on to send these out on scouting missions, leading to many UFO sightings throughout the world. After so long, the Germans would eventually perfect their design, allowing the Ho-229 or the Ho-356 being able to achieve space travel. The SAS troopers sit in the region to observe the German base, would report this in, and then the US would launch Operation High Jump to try to dislodge the Germans from their bases. The assault on the German bases in the Arctic regions were not very effective, so the US eventually had to resort in launching nukes. The US disguised these nuclear detonations as tests. It took 2 nuclear detonations to take out the Nazi base. To try to dissuade the American public from thinking there'd be Nazis in the Arctic, they also had a campaign where people were make fun of the Germans, and one of the many things that were making fun of the Germans was Santa Claus versus the Nazis. It took the US government too long to react to the Germans' advancement. They already escaped mostly into space by the time the base was struck. The Germans would go on to establish a secret Nazi base on the moon, on the dark side of the moon. This allowed them to remain hidden during the Apollo missions to the moon. The Nazis would then also run misinformation campaigns and also anti-moon landing missions to NASA, encouraging them to look elsewhere. They accomplished this mostly through bribery and espionage, and they used much of the funding from the stolen Nazi gold during the Second World War. They caused many things such as delays and accidents to slow down NASA's progress to returning to the moon. The true question is, what are they doing on the dark side of the moon? Are they just continuously developing their technology for their own benefits? Or are they planning to launch out an all-attack against us, starting another world war? Well, I guess War of the Worlds, actually. And perhaps they even gotten some extraterrestrial assistance in this matter.